It has been 1 year and a half that the peace treaty between Israel, Bahrain and United Arab Emirates have been signed. These agreements, named Abraham Accords, have shaken the Middle East. And they have been followed as well by similar agreements with Morocco and Sudan. We are here today at the European Parliament to have a look closer at it. And in this program, I'm joined by the Deputy Ambassador of the United Arab Emirates, Ghalia Humaidan. Welcome.
Thank you.
To the Member of the European Parliament, Marco Campomenosi.
Thank you very
Benvenuto.
much.
And Tomas Sandell from the European Coalition from Israel. And I'm Marco Gombacci from the European Report. The first question is to the Deputy Ambassador, because maybe we all have our perceptions about what were the Abraham Accords, but how would you explain this with your own words, and what motivated the Emirates to sign and to establish diplomatic relations with Israel?
Thank you for that question. So there are many motivations for the Accords, for the Abraham Accords. I do believe that it was the conscious realization by our government for the future of the region and for our youth. 65% of the population in the Middle East is under 30, so we need to create job opportunities to keep pace. And we do believe that the Accords will provide these opportunities in sectors such as energy, health, environment, technology. Also, my country realizes and believes that, regional security comes with and relies with strong multilateral partnerships and with a shared commitment to establish prosperity and stability through peaceful political means. So that for us is extremely important. And the Abraham Accords are a bit emblematic in the fact that it's a realization that traditional approaches were not providing the desired results. So I think my country reached a diplomatic breakthrough that many didn't think would be possible.
Yeah, with an historical change in the area. Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Campomenosi, you are a leading member of the European Parliament. What is your perception of the agreement, and does this agreement arrive as a surprise in Europe?
Mostly yes, maybe, because I was also working in the European Parliament as a political advisor, even before 2019. I'm elected member only since 2 years and a half. So I was already here when all this process was prepared. And what I've seen is that in some cases, some people prefer not to update their information regarding what was happening, because someone is still considering that area on all the, criteria. And the complexity of that region is important, apart that all the world has an interest on what our Vice Ambassador just told us. It's a question of prosperity, it's a question of development in an area for which also the climate issue will be also important. It's important for Europe. You can imagine how could be important there. And also this agreement could help also in research, in finding investments, to develop politics in these ways. And so what I can say is that the European Union preferred to be more cautious, so to say. Of course, maybe there were also political implications. The President Trump has never been also invited in the European Parliament. Now, well, I'm a friend of the United States every time, even if there is a Democrat or Republican, and so I hope that the fact that now there is a presidency which is more in talks with EU could help in also to develop all this politics. I'm also a member of a delegation for the relationship between EU and Iran, EU and Iraq. I've been in elections observation mission in Baghdad a few months ago, so I know very well how complex is the situation still. But so why don't take as a positive thing this agreement? I'm very optimistic regarding the future development.
You said something interesting, because you said that President Trump has never been invited to the European Parliament. And my question is to you, is a very provocative question, but if there was another president, would have we won the Nobel Prize for Peace for this agreement, for example?
Probably yes, but maybe we have also a story of Nobel Prize which was not finally so, how to say, so positive now, because in some cases you give this prize as an expectation of future development. So in the past it was not so positive. People who declare wars many times, Republicans in US say, hey, but we never declare wars, it's up to the Democrats. It's a simplification, it's a more complicated question, but yeah, probably yes. But of course it was also Mr. Trump who did not want to have more relationships with the EU. This is also true, honestly. So I think that these transatlantic relations are very important. And maybe me as Italian, I have my feet in the Mediterranean. It's maybe useful that from my country I could also give a point of view which is not the one of Brussels or of Washington. Also, we are people maybe more open to find compromises, good agreements. We are traders. My city, Genoa, is a city of traders. So I'm in trade committee here in the European Parliament, responsible for Mashrek areas, so a very complicated area. Imagine Lebanon, its complexity, Egypt, Syria, of course, for which it's more and more a geopolitical issue. I'm optimistic, yes.
So this Italian also point of view can help to foster some relations with the art of the compromise, the Italian art of compromise. Tomas, you are a friend of Israel. You are running the European Coalition for Israel. How the Abraham Accords change your work? How did they change your also daily work in maintaining the relationship with different stakeholders, for example?
Well, first of all, Marco, it's good to have you on the show, and it's a pleasure to work together with two Marcos, and obviously with the Deputy Ambassador. This was a game changer, very clearly. And I think it proves a number of things, and a number of things that we have been championing in this Parliament. And that is to say that peace is possible. It doesn't take a comprehensive peace agreement between Israelis and Palestinians to see peace become a reality in the wider region. I'm also very optimistic about this Abraham Accords from what I see, because it's a warm peace. You can have a cold peace where you know that war doesn't, bring you any benefits. But this is very unique from what I see. It's a real people-to-people peace. You have delegations practically every week. Israelis going to Abu Dhabi. People from the Gulf going to Israel, and I think this is the way of the future, and it also proves that you cannot achieve peace by confrontation or isolation. You need to bring people together. You need to look at innovative approaches, and I think there President Trump would really have deserved the Peace Prize to be able to look to break with the past and say it's in Brussels. I feel it's almost like it's dogmatic. You have certain mantras that you keep repeating. You have done so for the last 30 years. It has brought us nowhere. So here comes this wild cowboy from the West, and he said, let's look at things from a completely different way through business. And I think mere fact that we are sitting here together today with the Deputy Ambassador having this discussion is the proof of the pudding that this works. So I'm very optimistic and looking very much forward to working together with you, Deputy Ambassador, and your colleague from Bahrain and Morocco and other nations that we believe still will join this
probably
Abraham
will be
Accords.
future nations. Yes,
Absolutely,
joining,
yes.
joining it, shaking even more, shaking even more the Middle East.
Yeah.
Deputy Ambassador, I read that France will help the Emirates to counter some attacks arriving from the Iran-backed rebels, the Houthis, that you received some attacks in the recent days. Is this kind of cooperation between France and the Emirates an effect of the Abraham Accords as well?
Well, I think Europeans in general are very well aware of all the political instabilities and conflicts that have reached the Middle East for over the past decades. And the French like to call the region l'Orient compliqué. So, and I think bringing peace back to the Middle East has been a priority for a lot of member states from the EU. So I think it's no surprise that certain European countries, welcomed warmly the accords. Some countries did see the initiative as an opportunity, to mark a new era, a new beginning in the region of stability, of further exchange, of prosperity, and also as a new beginning, as a lever to improve the fate of the Palestinians, and also to have a more functional relationship between Israel and the Palestinians. So, I think it did.
Yeah, that's very important. That's another step that is very, very important, because having this role as well will bring these diplomatic activities to another step, to a higher level. That's very true. But because the Deputy Ambassador said that these agreements also get some European nation closer to the Middle East. Why the EU didn't take the lead on this?
But maybe the EU was concentrated on other topics, for example, to defend the agreement on nuclear with Iran and so on. It's complicated. You know how much also EU member states are sometimes far, or they have their own diplomacy following things and issues. But it's true what the Deputy Ambassador just told. It's important that anyone has not to renounce to his thoughts, to his ideas. For example, I follow trade, and as I told, and for example, it's also nice and good to underline how much, for example, Palestinian workers are important for some Israel enterprises when we speak about export from that areas. When we speak about the fact that, for example, now there is a government in Israel where there is a so-called Arab political party inside taking part, so they take their responsibility. No, it's maybe for them easier to say no, we don't want to share responsibility at governmental level. So these are developments which some of us would have never expected, no? In a situation which is complex. Of course, development, work, stability helps people to develop their own lives, their families, to reach their objectives. So I think that we are all engaged, of course, because, of course, when I've seen that the Minister Gantz from Israel could reach Bahrain, crossing the sky of Saudi Arabia, this is something which was not possible a few years ago. So this is good. Let's hope that all the other rest of the world would help in order to consolidate this. I know that, of course, now US and Europe are also concentrated on the Indo-Pacific area, so something a bit far and more complex in a way. No, maybe not more complex, but
as well, complex as well.
Yeah, indeed. But we have these responsibilities. Maybe in my constituencies, people don't think that what we are doing and speaking about now is important also for their lives. But this is absolutely true, because we have seen also for a pandemic how it was complicated for our economies to develop, for our people to move and so on. So this is the same for a war, for a crisis, for a ship in the Suez Channel blocking all the trade in the world. So what is good to have places as Brussels is that we could speak and to have a possibility to meet people from different countries in order to develop a common position. But of course, the story of Europe is complicated, and so I can understand that the High Representative, Vice President of the European Commission has a delicate role. Maybe he has also a political background for which his position is not, for example, mine, but I think he has a positive approach. Let's see.
Attitude. Thank you, Marco. And what could be the benefit for the European Union as well in the relationship with Israel?
I think, again, as it has been mentioned, this is a new beginning, and I hope that the European External Action Service would see it as such and wouldn't go back to where they were, many years ago when they insisted on saying that this wasn't possible. And I think there are already, it was mentioned, the French, assistance to the region. But for me, I would hope that this would really be a reset in the thinking of the political establishment here in Brussels, including the High Representative Borrell. And coming back to your first question, I mean, why wasn't it the Europeans who broke this historic peace deal? I think as taxpayers, we have to ask this question, because it's not that we have not been active in the region. It's not that we haven't invested hundreds and hundreds of millions, but with what result? So, and it also takes some humility. Of course, it was an embarrassment for the European establishment that this was the achievement of a US administration, which wasn't very popular here in Brussels. And obviously, as you say, now there's a new administration, and I would think that today it wouldn't only be a matter of how can Europe play a more active role, but how can we together transatlantically get involved, and because it doesn't stop here. And as you say, we have to build on this momentum and see, which are the next nations. But also, as you rightly pointed out, Deputy Ambassador, with the Palestinian question, how can this spill over as a positive effect and give the Palestinian people a prospect for peace? If this can happen with the brothers and sisters in the Gulf states, why can't it also happen to us? So I think this is the time to dismiss the thinking of the past and look at a new path.
Yeah. So coming to the end to this program, I would say that this is the Abraham Accords are the first step, but probably in the second step also the European Union could be a bit more involved to find more agreement with different countries. And I would like, in conclusion, I would like to mention something that is the most important part, I think, of this debate, what the Deputy Ambassador said, that this has been done for the youth and for the future of the people. Yes, and this is, I think, this is the main message of the Abraham Accords. So thank you very much for having followed us. This is Marco Gombacci, European Report. See you next month.